All right, welcome back, Pokemon fans. We're jumping to round 4 of Swiss at the next Kansas season showdown. This is the last round of Swiss, and then we go into a top cut, the top 4. So in this match, we're going to have Leonard Craft, who is currently 3-0, playing against Ethan Simpson, who is 2-1. X1 is going to be enough to make cut more than likely, so Ethan fighting for his chance to play in the elimination round of this tournament. Leonard feeling pretty comfortable, but maybe wants to knock Ethan out early, that way he doesn't have to face him later on in later rounds. One thing to keep in mind, both of these players have already earned their invite to the World Championship, so at this point, all the points they earn are gravy. But it's not a bad idea to play as well as you can, learn as much as you can before going to nationals, with the chance of winning money on the line, or step up your game to get ready for the championship. So I'm really excited for this game. We've seen both of these players once already today, and I'm really excited to see what they've got for us. So here we go. Players have connected, and we're going to jump into team preview, and we can talk about what each of these players has brought to this tournament. All right, so here on the left, you have Leonard's team of Charizard, Landorus, Therian, Cresselia, Snorlax, Nihilego, and Tapu Fini. On the right is Ethan's team, which consists of Amoonguss, Incineroar, Kartana, Landorus, Therian, Latias, and Tapu Fini. So Ethan threatening with double Intimidate is going to really be able to slow down, but almost everything else on team is going to be using the special attack stat. The Landorus, actually today we've seen a lot of mixed or purely special based Landorus rather than physical. I do think Leonard's is the physical variant, so that will be affected by the potential double Intimidate Ethan has. Ethan's Incineroar is going to be in a strong position there versus Leonard's Charizard, just by nature of resisting almost everything it has, and definitely something that he can use. Another thing is, even though both of these teams have Tapu Fini to prevent status moves, half of Leonard's team is flying or has Levitate, meaning they're by that terrain condition and will be able to be spored. So we might get a chance to see some Amoonguss action going on with Rage Powders and Spores to kind of shut down what it is Leonard's trying to do. This Kartana going to be in a strong position to deal damage to both Tapu Fini and the Nihilego on Leonard's side of the field, although it does need to be careful. Not going to take any attacks from Charizard very well at all. So here we go, jumping into turn 1 of this match, and we're going to see which Pokemon these players have elected. So on Leonard's side of the field, he's starting out with Nihilego and Charizard. Meanwhile, Ethan is leading with Incineroar and Latias. So Leonard in a strong position here, because we did see that his Charizard is carrying Tailwind, going to be able to give himself the speed advantage. However, this Latias is going to do a lot of damage to that Nihilego because it's carrying Psyshock, which will hit on the physical defensive side of Nihilego, and being super effective into Nihilego's physical defense is going to deal a ton of damage. So we do see Latias going ahead and Mega Evolving. That's going to give it its boosted defenses, going to make it resist less susceptible to taking damage over time, as it's just such a bulky Pokemon. So we do see Nihilego go for a Protect. However, Ethan went for the Fake Out into Charizard, so Charizard not getting a chance to set up Tailwind if that's what it's going for. Also, Leonard elected not to Mega Evolve right there, maybe not wanting to give the Sun advantage to that Incineroar, just in case Incineroar was going for damage right now with a Flare Blitz. So not a whole lot of damage dealt that turn, but burning the Protect on Nihilego is definitely important. Puts it in a position where Ethan can really threaten, especially after revealing Psyshock. That's going to be enough to KO this Nihilego. So Charizard on the field pretty healthy. Could still go for a chance to set up this Tailwind. Ethan not wanting to take a Rock move potentially on his Incineroar, switches out into Tapu Fini. I like that switch a lot because it's also going to resist anything that Charizard's coming out with here. We'll see if Ethan's still going for damage. Nihilego didn't switch out, so if he targeted that down, that could be a nearly free KO. However, if he read into a switch or something, going for this Icy Wind, trying to counteract if this Charizard is going for a Tailwind, not a bad decision if you ask me, you know, kind of going for a safer play there a little bit, as Nihilego is going for the Acid Spray. That's going to lower the special defense of this Latias, as Overheat goes into Latias. This is going to be not very effective, but after the -2, it is enough to pick up a KO. And so that is a really big KO for Leonard to take right there. He took a speed reduction on both of his Pokemon, but picked up a huge KO on Ethan's Mega. So that is a really good turn for him, especially because even with this -2 on Charizard, he does still have Acid Spray available to start spreading some damage with Heat Wave if he doesn't want to switch out right this second. So Ethan taking his time, deciding what he wants to bring in, choosing to bring in this Incineroar. So threaten that Fake Out again. It could give Ethan a chance to start setting up a Calm Mind on his Tapu Fini, but also Nihilego's physical defense is really low, meaning a knockoff or a Flare Blitz from this Incineroar in Sun especially could be dealing a ton of damage. So Nihilego getting out of there due to having its speed reduced earlier into Landorus Therian form. So Landorus is going to drop an Intimidate on this Incineroar, kind of limiting its damage output just a little bit. Charizard staying in, though, as the Fake Out into that Charizard slot again. So Charizard dealing no damage, and Fini gets a Calm Mind up absolutely free. So we do have Landorus coming in here. If this is physical, which I think it is, it can go this big Earthquake or even the Groundium Z, which we saw Leonard use earlier against Brandon Wright when he played. And so that can deal a ton of damage to either one of these targets, and that Calm Mind is not going to protect from a physical attack from Landorus. So we do see this Groundium Z coming out. Depending on where this is targeted, this is going to do a ton of damage. It's going to be able to KO the Incineroar. It may be able to KO Fini even as a neutral hit. We'll just have to see. Since this Landorus hasn't taken an Intimidate, it's going to deal a ton of damage, but it is into Incineroar, so that's going to pick up a KO, leaving Ethan with 2 Pokemon remaining, although he is stacking up boost on this Tapu Fini, so he might be alright, as Tapu Fini goes for a Muddy Water. This is in Sun, but that's still super effective on both of these Pokemon and at +1, but it is not enough to KO that Landorus, as Charizard sets a Tailwind. So that's a really strong place to be to set your Tailwind. Charizard not going to be able to do a ton of damage, but still supporting its teammates by setting up this speed advantage. So in comes Kartana, and Kartana is normally going to be a strong option against a lot of what Leonard has, but right now, even at -2, this Charizard is going to be very threatening to it. May not be able. All right, so I'm back. I was a little bit frozen there for a moment, so didn't see entirely what happened, but I did catch that Moonblast going into the Landorus slot, picking up the KO. So that's not a bad way to go. And in comes Relaxo the Snorlax. I do know that Leonard is very passionate about this Snorlax's name. So Charizard sitting, at low HP in range to be picked off by a Muddy Water at this point. Ethan's got to be careful with these Tailwind turns, going for the Kartana, going for a Detect on Kartana, not wanting to lose his Kartana to this Heat Wave. Just seeing in chat that Kartana took a Sword Stance turn last turn, and Charizard avoids this Muddy Water. That is a huge avoid because Ethan really wanted to get this Charizard off the field before it could deal massive damage to his Kartana. So Kartana is going to be very threatening at +2. Unfortunately, Ethan's going to need this Tailwind to end before it's going to be able to do anything. Snorlax getting that belly drum up, though, is going to make it very threatening to everything on the field. There may not be a lot for Ethan to go for besides a double protect to end Tailwind, and then he's still got to deal with this Charizard. So he goes for the Detect, doesn't get it. Tapu Fini also going for the protect. You know, he knows his out. Heat Wave's coming out, but it does connect with the Kartana. That's going to pick up a KO, and so now this Tapu Fini is just in free range for this Snorlax to go ahead and pick up the KO. We do see Earthquake coming out from this Snorlax, so that's a little different from some of the regular sets that Snorlax can carry. But that's going to be a strong combination with Charizard for creating these strong pins where Charizard can fire off a Heat Wave, Snorlax can fire off an Earthquake, and really nothing can switch in on that. So Charizard going for a protect here as Muddy Water comes out from this Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is at +1, but Snorlax does have a very high special defense, so it's not going to be able to KO, but he's really just kind of fishing for those accuracy drops. Doesn't get it, and that +6 frustration into Tapu Fini is able to pick up the KO and give Leonard game 1. Alright, so back in team preview, going into game 2 for this match, Ethan's definitely got to have on his mind, got to deal with that Charizard before the speed control starts happening, because losing the speed advantage, his Kartana being slower, was a real negative for him in that match. A little unfortunate that he missed those Muddy Waters, but that's sort of a risk you take when you use that, you know, you have to be aware of when building your team and when selecting your moves. That Tailwind did come in and paid absolutely huge dividends, as well as that Landorus just being able to delete Incineroar. That's something that Ethan's going to have to watch out for in this game too in order to keep himself alive in this tournament. The other thing, Ethan, while he needs to maintain his speed, he also has to prevent Trick Room, because Snorlax can be extremely threatening. We did see earlier that this Kartana is carrying the Fightinium Z for pummeling. That's going to be able to deal a ton of damage to that Snorlax, but if Snorlax gets set up under Trick Room, it can absolutely wreck house, and that is not something that anybody wants to try and face down. Alright, so both players have selected their teams, and we're going to go into turn 1 of this second battle. Leonard trying to clinch his spot as the undefeated player going into Top Cut, get that first seed for the elimination rounds. Ethan fighting just to have a chance to play in the elimination rounds right now. Leonard only needs one more win in order to go through, so let's see how this goes. Ethan leading with Landorus and Latias. Meanwhile, Leonard leading with Cresselia Charizard. So this Charizard is in a prime position again. We've seen that Ethan's Landorus is special, so it may not be carrying Rock Slide and may not be a threat to Charizard. Meanwhile, Cresselia is just free to set up Trick Room, and Ethan doesn't currently have a whole lot he can prevent that from happening. So Ethan's playing a little bit from behind. He's going to reposition himself if he wants to have a chance in this game, because once Trick Room goes up, he's lacking a lot of options to stop it. So no switches. Instead, we're going to see Latias Mega Evolve again into that beautiful jet plane that can take hits like a champ. So Charizard also Mega Evolving. I mean, it's going to be able to fire off very powerful heat waves that Landorus may be in trouble if it's not carrying Rock Slide to deal with this Charizard. So we do see Landorus moving the Latias, indicating that it is carrying a Choice Scarf, getting that U-turn, which gives respectable chip damage onto that Cresselia as Tapu Fini comes in. So Tapu Fini will be able to take any hits from this Charizard right now very well. But if Trick Room comes up, you know, it may not be in a position. However, we do see Calm Mind coming out on this Cresselia, excuse me, not on Cresselia, on Latias, trying to set up, going to be able to take these attacks from Charizard considerably better. As Charizard goes for a Heat Wave, it's going to be resisted by both of those Pokemon, who are both quite bulky, so they take that very comfortably, as Cresselia does set up Trick Room. So this is a net positive turn for Leonard, if you ask me. He gets Trick Room up, which means once he brings in his Snorlax, he's going to have a chance to get it set up and start melting face. However, Ethan did get a Calm Mind up on his Latias, so that's going to make it a lot harder to take down, at least physically, as well as giving it a little extra punch on its attacks, which is going to be dangerous for Leonard to deal with. As this Charizard not in a good spot, Leonard decides to go ahead and switch it out, bringing in that Snorlax. So Snorlax may be taking some damage on this turn here, as Cresselia goes for a Psychic into Tapu Fini, deals respectable damage. However, Fini's also going for a Calm Mind, getting boosted up and ready to try and deal with this Snorlax. So one of the saving graces here is we do see coming out from Latias into this Snorlax at +1. It deals not even enough damage to activate the berry. However, getting some damage down is going to be important, because if you can prevent the Snorlax from belly drumming, or, you know, punish it for doing so by getting the KO, that's a really strong position to be in. So one thing, you got to be careful if you're attacking into this Tapu Fini. If it survives, it's going to eat its berry and heal right back up. So we do see Cresselia going for a helping hand, meaning Snorlax isn't messing around with belly drum. It's going right on the offensive with a frustration into Tapu Fini, and thanks to helping hand and a critical hit to boot, that is enough to pick up the KO. And so this Psyshock is going to be going into the Snorlax. It's going to deal some damage, but that's just going to activate the berry, and Snorlax is coming right back up to high HP. So really good turn again for Leonard. He took relatively little damage and picked up a KO on that boosted Tapu Fini. So that's a really, really important KO to have taken. All right, so Ethan bringing in his Kartana. Now Kartana, you know, jokingly known for being very weak on the special defensive side. Actually, its physical defense rivals that of Ferrothorn, and it's going to resist these attacks that Snorlax are firing at it. It'll be neutral to Earthquake, but that's non-stab and spread reduced. Especially with Snorlax not being boosted, it's not going to deal a whole lot of damage. That also gives Kartana a chance to just deal a ton of damage to that Snorlax if it so chooses. However, this Cresselia is still on the field, still really fat, and it's going to be able to take hits like a champ. So in comes Landorus. That's going to get a big Intimidate down on that Kartana, which is going to be huge, depending on what attacks Kartana went for, especially if Ethan went ahead and went straight for the Z move, as Cresselia goes for an Ice Beam, hitting that for neutral damage, but because of the very low special defense, it deals a ton, and we do see this fighting Z move coming out. So that's probably going into the Landorus, trying to get that Snorlax earlier. It's kind of a waste of a Z move, unfortunately, into this resisted hit, although Kartana does have really high attack, so we are going to get some respectable damage down on this Snorlax. So we do see that all-out pummeling plus a +1 Psyshock into this Landorus to pick up a KO, and we've still got a couple more turns of Trick Room, maybe only one. I should be keeping track. But this Landorus, you know, most likely going to be able to move before both this Kartana and this Latias, so it's going to have an opportunity to deal some damage. So Kartana detecting, not wanting to take that Ice Beam, which put it in range for a KO earlier, protects itself from that Ice Beam. Meanwhile, Latias takes a U-turn and dealing respectable damage from that Landorus. So in comes the Charizard. Not a bad switch there as Icy Wind comes out. Ethan, doing what he can on this last turn of Trick Room with the speed control again. So both the Sun and the Trick Room and the Misty Terrain layer out on this turn. However, there's not a lot preventing this Cresselia from just setting Trick Room up again. Kartana's very threatened by this Charizard. A Heat Wave outside of Sun is still going to be plenty of damage to KO this Kartana. Latias at low HP, it may want to go for a Roost, but doing so, it's going to just give Leonard free turns. And Charizard's also in a position where it could, rather than Trick Room, it could set Tailwind and again maintain the speed control, which is so important for winning these games. So we do see Latias going for Roost, Kartana not protecting, not switching out. So Ethan making a really ballsy play here, going for a Sword Stance, just not even worried about whatever it is that Leonard might do, as Heat Wave comes out and Kartana dodges the Heat Wave. So that was 100% calculated, as Trick Room does go up. I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for the Sword Stance. The dodge just makes it incredible. Ethan clearly knew what he was doing. He knows what he's about. A very risky play. Can't really say it paid off a whole lot, since Trick Room did go up here. Kartana going for a Detect, wants to protect itself from whatever's coming in here, as Ice Beam connects with the Latias, deals a decent chunk of damage and gets the freeze. So that's really unfortunate, as Heat Wave comes out. I don't even know if Heat Wave is one of the moves that thaws your opponent. So the freeze not mattering at all, as you get the first turn thaw and the Psyshock into Charizard for respectable damage. So Latias, not a bad Pokemon, especially facing down these two special attackers, considering that it's boosted. The unfortunate thing is you've really only got one Pokemon capable of dealing damage. So Charizard switching out here, in no position to take another Psyshock, getting another Intimidate down on this Kartana, bringing it back to neutral. And Ethan deciding, I can't risk too many more Heat Wave misses, so gotta get this Kartana out of here. And so he brings in his there, taking an Ice Beam, pick up the K, and Kartana's gonna have to be coming in again, as Latias goes for a Roost, bringing it back up to full. So Latias, it's doing what it can. It's very bulky, healing when it gets the chance to, but he's going to need a couple more boosts on this thing if he wants to be able to beat the Snorlax with it. That Snorlax is in the back. So Leonard currently, 4 Pokemon to 2. 2 of his Pokemon have been very weakened, so that's something, that they're very easily in KO range, but he's doing a good job of controlling the board in order to keep Ethan from being able to finish off those KOs. So we do see a Detect coming out for Kartana, as Psychium Z is coming out for for Cresselia. That's going to be able to deal a lot of damage even through this Protect. It's a resisted hit, and it's going to deal only 25% damage. So it's not going to be enough to pick up the KO there, which is going to be good, keeping Kartana around for later turns. As U-turn comes out into Latias, deals decent chip damage, but something's going to be coming in. Charizard's not going to be able to take a hit on the switch if that's where Ethan targeted. So Charizard coming back in, setting up the sun again. It's going to be threatening Kartana a ton if it doesn't get knocked out, as Icy Wind comes out at +1, should be enough to pick up a KO on Charizard, so that's important. Not a bad move to make, covers for any switches, because Icy Wind would have been plenty to pick up the KO, and he also gets some chip damage. Icy Wind would have been enough to pick up the KO on the Landorus as well, and he does get some important chip damage down on Cresselia, which is really important. So getting rid of that Charizard was a really important there, as it did kind of reduce the threat to Kartana. So this Snorlax coming in is going to be able to take hits right on the chin with no problem, at least for a little while. Kartana is currently at neutral, I believe, so a Sacred Sword is going to be able to do a lot of damage. Helping Hand return may be able to pick up the KO on to the Latias, which wouldn't be a bad play for Leonard to make. As we do see another Detect from the Kartana as Snorlax goes for a Recycle. So if this Ice Beam goes into Kartana, that's going to be able to pick up a KO, and it's just going to be Latias facing down the rest of this team. So Latias going for a Side Shock into this Cresselia, not a whole lot of damage, and the I guess the saving grace here is that we know this Cresselia is not carrying a berry, so just slowly getting chip damage will be enough to pick up the KO. However, Snorlax is still very threatening. It's got its berry back. And Ethan recognizes this win condition, goes ahead and forfeits. So that's the end of Swiss for us today. We'll be right back with Top Cut once those results come out.